We spent 10 hours cutting through waves of enemies in GODBREAKERS. Not just to share our take on the game as a duo, but also to finally confirm that Nox still isn't pulling his weight in roguelikes.
Well, that was unnecessary. But if you want to know what hooked us through hours of questionable teamwork and where the game still needs a bit of polish, stick around.
Also, a huge thanks to Thunderful Publishing and To The Sky for giving us the chance to review the full game ahead of release. But as always, this video is not sponsored and every opinion here is entirely our own.
GODBREAKERS is the first game by Swedish indie studio To The Sky, with a team of industry veterans that have worked on franchises like Need for Speed before. I mentioned this because they kinda carried the speed over to GODBREAKERS. It is a fast game and one that will test your reflexes and how well or not you can keep the overview in a battle. For roguelike fans, it feels familiar, yet fresh. But even for newcomers, the hack and slash combat and progression are easy to pick up. The story is light, but intriguing. You are vessels, crafted by Celestials to take down Monad, a rogue AI that ended humanity. It is told through commentary and pieces of lore that you can find in the world. You can play GODBREAKERS alone or with up to 3 more friends in online co-op. However, a local split screen option is not available. GODBREAKERS officially releases on October 23rd on PC and PlayStation and is Steam Deck verified. On launch, there will be no crossplay between PC and console.
But first, let us take a look at the core gameplay of GODBREAKERS and what makes it special in the genre. After a quick tutorial, you get to the hub. Here, you can customize your character, choose your favorite archetype, the GODBREAKERS version of classes, and try out their combos on a dummy. All 6 archetypes are attackers, so there is no pure support. But some of them are a bit more team-oriented than others, with abilities like team-wide shields for example. In total, there are 6 different biomes, and for the first 4, you can choose between 2 options. Each run takes about 20 to 60 minutes, depending on your skill and luck. So it's great for quicker sessions with friends too. Along the way, items, equipment, and even usable skills drop, completely at random, with varying rarities and strength. In some runs, it was quite challenging to put together a strong build, since you have 5 item slots, up to 14 damage multiplier slots, and an active skill that is also randomly obtained. Getting a lucky epic drop that changes up your playstyle feels great. But what really sets this game apart is the GODBREAK mechanic. You can GODBREAK enemies, which essentially is you being Kirby. If you're thinking, what the heck now, Lumi? Let me explain. You can absorb an enemy's ability, but there's a catch. Or no, actually 2. For once, it only has 1 single charge, before you have to recharge your GODBREAK energy again to repeat. And you have to be super quick with absorbing, because it can only be triggered during a short time window. This adds a fun twist on top of the basic combat, which, by the way, feels pretty fluid and fast. You can do some basic combos, but also some more advanced dash and jump attacks. But since there's no auto-targeting when playing with mouse and keyboard, and no crosshair to aim your attacks, we sometimes dashed past enemies and ended up doing some good old air hitting.
On top of combos, each of the archetypes also has special skills that can be unlocked. However, only one can be selected at a time. The Pillar, for example, is a slower but hard-hitting melee weapon that either comes with a party-wide barrier, taunt or AoE slow skill. We had some smaller input lag for some combos, but otherwise it felt pretty good, snappy and impactful. Skills can be dodge cancelled as well, but we quickly learned that we aren't invulnerable during dodges. Still, it's good for positioning and movement through biomes. Each of these 6 biomes features multiple linear chambers, with procedurally generated elements, all leading up to a mini-boss and, eventually, a big boss at the end. Before the end boss, you always encounter a merchant, who can upgrade your abilities or trade new ones to help you refine your build. The currency for this drops during your runs, or can be earned by recycling unwanted abilities. The end bosses are overall well designed, with unique and even evolving attack patterns. None of them felt similar, but more or less challenging depending on our builds during a run. However, and this was probably the one single reason why we didn't enjoy the boss fights as much as we wanted to, all of them relied too much on ad spawns. And this is a double-edged sword actually, because on one side you need ads, as they are the only reliable source of god breaks, if you leave out certain abilities that may grant them. But on the other side, it felt like the real pressure in fights came more from the ads spawning, rather than the boss itself. These ads can become increasingly dangerous and, especially in the endgame, may be the sole reason your team fails a run.
And speaking of endgame, it took us about 5 hours to clear our first full cycle, after which you unlock difficulty modifiers that are called tangles. Up to 5 modifiers can be active at any time, depending on how much you like to suffer, because some of those, especially when overlapping, make it so difficult that we couldn't even clear one biome up to the boss. If you've ever played Mythic Plus dungeons in World of Warcraft, you might get some flashbacks while reading through those modifiers. Depending on your experience with roguelikes, you might clear the game slower or faster. The game also features the genre-typical progression system, so you don't have to rely solely on get good. You can unlock more efficient healing charges or faster energy regeneration to be Kirby more often. Designing the endgame around tangles gives Godbreakers quite some replay value, plus some more cosmetic progression for completionists. You can unlock different armor colors, heads, and weapon cosmetics. And now, guess which one of those weapon skins is my favorite? And guess who is going to clear one of the bosses with me over and over again? I need this baguette, and so do you!
But what makes Godbreakers truly fun is the co-op. Whether you are being carried through a level by Lumi, getting revived by her, or watching her solo the boss. It's just a really enjoyable experience. Jokes aside, the co-op works remarkably well, both technically and game-wise. Party setups are simple, just host or join and you're ready to go. Player synchronization is flawless, with no desyncs or other issues. Scaling is also well implemented, with no noticeable differences between single player and co-op. The gameplay itself offers a lot of depth, starting with the archetypes. Each archetype's weapon is designed around a unique playstyle. One might focus on pulling aggro and shielding, while another can supply the team with randomized abilities or buff damage. Passive abilities support the entire party, including healing shrines and chests that everyone can interact with. During each run, you will also collect items with various rarities and effects. These items can be traded between players to fully flesh out everyone's builds. Powers have synergies too, but since everything is randomized, you must constantly strategize and communicate during runs, making teamwork feel truly impactful. And of course, there's Resurrection, if you manage to pull it off. Currently, the game lacks matchmaking, so you will need to know someone to play as a team. There is also no in-game chat or voice chat, so you will need to rely on third-party tools for communication.
Aside from co-op, the combat itself feels satisfying and impactful. Once you get past the phase of constantly hitting and dashing past enemies and getting backstabbed in return, the fights start to become a lot more fun. With 8 different moves, a wide array of absorbed abilities and equipment skills, the learning curve is a bit steep. But once you get the hang of it, it really pays off. Just a heads up, you'll need to memorize enemy patterns and the abilities you gain from them to succeed. So don't give up after your first spectacular wipe just 2 enemy groups in. Finally, the game feels very polished, with vibrant visuals, a clean UI and satisfying sound design. We also didn't encounter any bugs, which is obviously a big plus.
We had a lot of fun, but of course, no game is perfect. Our main critique is likely optimization. Although we never experienced any lag or stuttering, our GPU usage constantly fluctuated between 90 and 100%. Considering we are running an RTX 4070 Ti Super and an RTX 5070, this is quite high, even on ultra settings. It seems the game struggles with resolutions above 1080p and frame rates over 60 FPS regardless of DLSS. So if your rig isn't very recent, definitely try the demo first and consider capping the frame rate at 60 FPS if you run into any issues. Other than that, we enjoyed the distinct visuals of the biomes a lot. But after some time, the biome patterns feel a bit too similar. 6 are solid, but more variety or events could stretch replayability. This makes the first playthrough rather short, even with tons of modifiers, playstyles and gimmicks to unlock afterwards. Then again, the game is just about to release, and although no official roadmap is public yet, more biomes, weapons, bosses and events are certainly possible. Because if you and your friends are really experienced roguelike players, the endgame as it is right now might lack challenge and variety if you are not focused on achievements and cosmetic unlocks. Tangles are the only way to change the core gameplay or increase difficulty, and you will have to repeat the same mini-bosses and end bosses all over again, just with a couple of penalties added on top.
So, before we wrap up, we want to help you decide whether you and your friends should get GODBREAKERS or not. We would say you will enjoy the game if you prefer action roguelikes that focus on raw gameplay rather than a deep story, and don't rely heavily on randomized elements like mini and end bosses. Or if you have limited time and want runs that can be completed in under an hour. However, this might not be the game for you if you are looking for a lot of variety between runs, both in terms of level structure and enemies, or if you want to play co-op but don't have friends who own the game. If you are still on the fence and play on PC, you can try the GODBREAKERS demo on Steam right now. We hope you enjoyed this God-breaking journey with us. Let us know in the comments if you are planning to play GODBREAKERS with your friends, and if anyone has a recipe to keep Nox from falling off the platforms for once. For now, we wish you tons of fun in co-op with your favorite people. And we'll see you again in the next one.